13% said Rush Limbaugh. 10% said Dick Cheney. And tied for 6, John McCain and Newt Gingrich. But the big winner is a big question mark. Look at this one. 52% of all Americans couldn't come up with a name when asked to specify the main person who speaks for the Republicans today. Charlie Cook's an expert. He's the editor of the Cook Political Report. And Doug Holtz-Eakin, who was an advisor to John McCain's presidential campaign. Gentlemen, this is a strange time. I can't tell you whether it's a good time or a bad time. But we in this world out here on television love it. Because we, like the Obama White House, can designate who the Republican Party is, and we can say it is Rush Limbaugh, or as Howard Feynman put it beautifully, the RNC, Rush, Newt, and Cheney. Charlie, it seems like the Republicans don't have anybody to put up besides them. The liberals seem to like that name to shoot at. And what else? Cable television just enjoys the whole craziness of it, that the Republican Party is led by the talk show guys.
Well, I think, Chris, it's not that unusual for a party that's lost their majorities in the House, the Senate, the governorship, and lost the presidency to have a vacuum. I mean, that's normal. This is probably worse than normal.
That's a nice way to put it.
Well, no, it's relatively normal. This is probably worse than normal.
Yeah, if you lose everything, you don't have a leader, right?
It's understandable. Yeah. But to me, the devastating statistic in this Gallup poll for USA Today was simply that they asked favorable, unfavorable ratings of the Republican Party among Republicans, and 33% of Republicans had an unfavorable view of their own party, compared to 4% of Democrats who had an unfavorable view of them. I mean, that's like sports fans disliking their own team. And, you know, this is a party that just needs rebranding, retooling, reworking, and they just need a lot of work. But we've seen Democrats in this position, too.
It's like people not liking their home team. Well, I grew up in Philly, so I'm somewhat familiar with that. Let me go to Doug. Doug, your thoughts about your party. I know you have to be careful here because you're a loyalist, but what is this self-hatred that's going on right now that forces your party to say, we don't like the guys we elect, we only like the guys who have either been kicked out of office like Newt Gingrich, or yesterday's trolls, I'm not going to mention them because we know who that is, or your Rush Limbaugh, who's just probably the funniest, most mischievous member of the right.
Well, I think Charlie has a lot of it right. If you look historically at bad losses, and this is a really bad period for the Republican Party, no one speaks for the party. And what we're going to have to see is issues and ideas emerge that are appealing to people so that they're not have a negative view of their party. And the next person who can articulate new ideas, who can reach out to the kinds of things Americans care deeply about, the future of the middle class, will become the leader of the Republican Party. And it's going to be about ideas. It's not going to be about personalities.
How much, Charlie, do you think Rahm Emanuel has been sort of choreographing this? The clever way in which this White House seems to be on message. They constantly turn the media attention. It's not hard to do it, to Rush Limbaugh, who's a good show, and to Cheney, who's out there running around still actively in politics, and to Newt Gingrich, who's trying to run for the nomination next time. And he's saying, don't pay attention to Boehner, who's the Republican leader in the House. Don't pay attention to Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader. Pay attention to these guys on the fringe.
Well, I think it's a well-known political tactic that I think that the Obama folks have taken to a high art form. But you remember, for example, when Bill Clinton was in so much trouble early on after '94, he made Newt Gingrich the fall guy. You know, in politics, it's great to have a foil. It's great to have somebody to push off against. And if you get to pick who that is, it's so much the better. But you know, if Rahm is awake, he's thinking. And this is it's a very clever group of people who are thinking, what can we do to stick it to the other side? And they're doing it very, very well. And Republicans are at a point where, you know, when you're out of power, how do you create a new leader? How does a new leader right now rise to the top? I couldn't begin to tell you how somebody would rise to the top right now.
Doug, it's not too cartoonish to describe Rush Limbaugh as sort of a walrus underwater. That's what he talks like. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like a drowning walrus the way he talks. And then you've got Newt Gingrich, who's clearly well, he looks like Mephastophales. And then this guy, well, Cheney is a troll. So you got a troll, a walrus, and the devil as your cartoon characters. Can't you guys find more attractive figures that the right might rally to?
Well, I understand the tactics of pointing to Rush Limbaugh as the leader of the Republican Party, but Rush himself says he's a conservative entertainer. He's not the leader of the party, and so that can't last very long. And I'm with Charlie. I think a new leader has to emerge. As I said, I think it's going to be grounded not in the politics of personality, but in the politics of real issues where the party has been failing both its followers and then the ability to reach out to independents and Democrats in the past. So this is now going to be an ideas contest, and we're going to see the next generation compete on ideas. We're going to see them try to reach out and build a Republican Party that's broader, can compete nationally, has some following in the younger and ethnic following, and that's going to be the key challenge. And I'll give you just as food for thought, politics versus ideas. Think about Dick Cheney. Since he has left the vice presidency, he has talked about the importance of national security. People care about that idea. He's talked about having a little bit of compassion toward gay rights. People like that idea. If you look at personalities, he polls better than Nancy Pelosi. Ideas matter, and that's how the Republicans have to go.
Do you think he might run for the nomination next time?
Oh, who knows who's going to run? And I'm not here to pick winners. I think that's the key. No one speaks to the party now because no one has earned the ideas platform that is going to broadly bring the party back. And that's what we need to look for.
Charlie, I guess there's a question for the Republicans. Do they wait for Barack to really create an opportunity, or do they wait for next time? What do you think they're going to do?
Well, I think they're kind of wandering around the wilderness right now, but after a time, you know, they're going to have an opportunity. I mean, you and I were talking last week, and to me right now, the public's not really listening to Republicans. They don't care what they think. They're sort of in a timeout chair. But after a while, they're going to be allowed to come back to rejoin the class, and the question is, will they have something to say? I was laughing when you were talking a minute ago because, you know, Rush and Newt and Vice President Cheney have such nice things to say about you. But,
oh, I think I've captured them. No, I don't think it's a subjective view. I think Rush Limbaugh does sound like a walrus underwater. I'm sorry, that's a fact.
But the thing is, though, notice that there was one guy that was coming through that looked, interesting, Governor Huntsman in Utah.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They picked him off. It was sort of like the really fresh face that was really getting attention, and the Obama folks take him out and send him to China. Now that's, you know, these guys, you could agree or disagree with them, but boy, they're on the ball.
They shanghaied the bastard, and that's smart. Anyway, thank you, Charlie Cook. Thank you, Doug Holtzman.
Thank you, Chris.
Holtzman, I think you're right about Dick Cheney. He's your guy. Up next, we're going to go back to our top story.